I'd like to call to order the Fire District Board meeting of July 20th. To join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and
justice for all.
Thank you. Will you do the roll call, please?
Yes, ma'am. Aldrich is not here yet. Beckman?
Here.
Hey, hold on just
Yeah,
1 second.
you got me?
Yes, I do, Eric. And Dan Fox is just joining, so if...
Hey, Chris,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you heard, but I think Keith Aldrich passed away this afternoon.
I did
That's-
not.
That's correct.
So,
I would announce it at the board meeting at Stacy's request.
Okay.
sorry,
Well,
sorry, Greg, I just heard
Oh,
that.
it's okay. No, it's okay.
all right. Dan Fox, you're here now? Okay. Jane, you're here?
I'm here.
Scott Phelps,
I'm
I
here.
thought I saw, yeah, okay.
Yep, I'm here.
And Taru. Hold on, let me unmute her too.
She's there somewhere.
There we
Yes.
go.
Can you hear me
Yeah,
now?
now we can, yep.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
and then Aaron Miller is absent with notice, so.
And of course, Stacy. has to
Yeah,
be-
right. Yep. All right, that should be everybody.
Chris, I don't see anybody's pictures. All I have is the agenda. I don't know what I did.
That would be
So-
Right, true. You're not missing much.
Oh, okay. So far, I can hear all of you.
That's the important part.
Yeah, I just can't see you anymore.
Do you need fire as well?
No,
Yes, that's really unfortunate about Keith, but
Oh,
it's been a long, hard struggle for him, more than a year and a half with hospice care. So I guess may he rest in peace. It was a long fought battle for him.
Yeah, 18 months. She watched him with his illness, and it was just a really hard thing for everybody. So in a way, it's a blessing. Still very sad.
Yeah. So moving on, could we have approval of the agenda? Is there any additions or deletions?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda of July 20th, 2020.
I'll support.
Okay, we have a motion by Pullen and support by, was that you, Scott?
That was Eric.
Eric, I'm sorry.
No problem.
Was second by Becken. I don't think we need to do a roll call because we didn't change the agenda, so the agenda stands. Could we have an approval of the June 15th minutes, please? Nobody wants to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
make
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Drew.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of June 15th, 2020.
I'll support that.
Okay, motion by Pullen and support by Phelps. Do we have a roll call, or is there any discussion? Oh man, I'm off today.
That's okay.
Is there any discussion? Could I have a roll call, please?
Yes, ma'am. All right. Pullen,
Yes.
Phelps,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
and Verplink.
Yes. Can we have a motion to pay the accounts payable?
I'll make a motion to pay the accounts
Oh,
payable.
and public comment, ma'am.
Oh, see, I'm just
Sorry.
moving the meeting right along. Is there any public comment? Please limit your comments to 3 minutes, raise your hand button, or if you're not being noticed, just speak up. Okay, I'm not hearing anybody.
We're seeing, I don't see anybody either, so thank you.
All right, we have a motion to pay the accounts payable, please.
I'll make a motion to pay the accounts payable to $215,586.66.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Phelps and a second by Fox. Is there any discussion?
That's 75,000. Is that about the last payment for that fireboat?
The 75,000, we had to get it on the 2019 capital improvement plan, so that would be the check we wrote. We will not distribute the check until the project's done, Scott.
Okay,
When we get it on the 2019 tax year, because it kind of screws up the capital plan. We can do it other ways, but that's the price of the boat, correct?
okay.
How are they coming on that?
Slow but sure. Chris went there last Friday, I believe, and they are putting the cabin house that was being built at the time. So coming along.
Good.
Transom work has gotten substantially done. We received the outboard motor from Wolf Marine. So
It's good.
probably be in time for us to break the ice.
Has the dock gotten delivered? I see it got Linus here for delivering it. Is that,
Yeah, the dock is here. DK Construction, the marine contractor, had us unload it over at Towers property. It's stored over there, and DK's got a crane over there. So that's scheduled next week.
oh, good.
Cool.
Good.
Very timely considering the ramp is under the water and it's bowed pretty well with skids piled on top of it to navigate over the water. So we'll look forward to that.
Boat looks like it's gonna float into Lucy Street.
Yeah. Let's hope not. I'll brief you later on, but just quickly, the boat got hit by lightning. So we can talk about that further down the line.
Okay, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. Phelps,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Poland,
Yes.
and Verplink.
Yes.
Okay.
Moving on, can we have a financial report, Peter?
Peter is not here.
I didn't see Peter on here.
Yeah, not sure if he got tied up in clerk duties or something, or
Hmm. Well, I guess we'll move on.
I can certainly bring up expenditure. Revenues are 100%, just over 100%. Expenditures, Chris, if you can just scroll down a bit there. We're at about 93% on expenditures. So with the budget adjustment, we're in good shape. With the capital fund transfer to build up our capital replacement plan. We have one more truck payment. That's that $42,000 payment. So we ended up the fiscal year in good shape.
So we have one more payment next year, or this is the last payment?
We have one more payment change.
hey, Peter is just now joining the meeting, so we can let him.
Peter can confirm the last payment, I'm sure.
Yeah. Hey, just in time for financial report, Peter.
He's got to unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay, so this is the one that's up here is for the last fiscal year that ended June 30th. There was quite a few bills that were approved. We collected $9,000 more revenue than we projected. I believe I have all the revenue report that we have, and there are some payroll line items that were over the budget, but we really didn't have a lot of control on the calls. Can you scroll that down a little bit, Chris, whoever had? Overall, we managed to still put our $50,000 transfer into our capital fund. And so there's still another, I don't know how many more bills that are outstanding. I don't think there's many, but, and also on the long-term capital, I don't know if Chris has any more bills on any of the big projects. I think we paid most of it down, but overall, there's going to be a healthy sum rolled over into the capital fund for the fiscal year ending June 30th of 2020. I don't know if anybody has particular questions about last year's budget. It's over with. I think we have most of all the daily bills already recorded.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Peter.
Yep.
Moving on. Fire chief comments. Take it away, Greg.
Hello, everybody. Just wanted to share with you incidents. I will just capture some of the highlights. Ended up June with 80 calls. We're still above the averages, but certainly down. We're down about 16% for the reps that would like to report their respective jurisdictions. We're down about 16%. There's some advantages to that, and I can share that with you later on. So notable on here, slide 12 is a new slide. I talked with Eric, my lead, my nemesis, my leader on statistics, and I suggested we create a chart for vehicle fires. And at first, Eric kind of stopped me. I know Eric's on here. So a couple of days later, he called me because we had about $90,000 in savings on car fires. So I think that's notable. And I think the public and certainly the fire board should be made aware of that. So Eric created a chart and we'll maintain that from this point on. So a lot of activity fireboat wise. We've had more calls with the fireboats in 1 month than we've had in quite some time. And it runs in cycles like that. It was such a busy time, we left one of the fireboats in the water, the one that's normally on a trailer, 2192, but we're replacing, hoping it doesn't sink. But we had to have that in the water because there was just too much activity in shallower water. So I think that pretty much captures what you'd like to know. If there's any questions, you can always reach out to me, review this at your discretion, and give me a call. Anything comes to mind. Next up on the agenda.
Greg,
Yeah, go on.
does the, on the fireboat incident chart there,
Yes.
is the color of the most recent, I don't know, what am I looking at here? Are these the total number of incidents for the given period?
Yeah, year to date, the one on the right, there's 8 incidents year to
That's
date.
So that, but the color of that doesn't relate to the.
No.
Okay.
Like
So
there were 4 calls for boats in distress. Eric
Okay.
had to pick out blue. He's the author, so he can choose what he likes. Boat fires, none. Structure fires, none. Water rescue, 1.
Got it.
We had one rescue where the sheriff had to retrieve a boat that was ready to sink, and myself and the crew on the big boat 2191, which you see on that slide, we rescued 2 people that were on the seawall. One was in the water, got out of the water, and we treated them on the way back to the fireboat dock. But it was a great collaboration with the sheriff, and he was able to grab that boat before it sunk, because it had a substantial hole in it, and tow it in to our fireboat dock why we could treat the patient and transfer them over to the sheriff and over to AMR.
Out of curiosity, residents within the district or no?
No, sir. Out of the area. The rest of it's pretty typical. The calls are kind of up on Grace Douglas. We're seeing a lot of activity there, but nothing that you have not seen before. So next, if we can go to the agenda, please, Chris. Thank you, sir.
You know what? Yeah.
Back up to the agenda, yeah. There we go. Thank you, Chris. So community risk reduction wise, we've had 8 more fatalities since our last meeting in June. We're always hate to hear that, but there's been 73 fatal fires for 2020. Grants, we have a very active grant department, as you know, comprised of 3 of us. And one of the grants that came up was the hazard pay. Michigan decided it was a first come, first served basis with about $350 million. That grant was released Friday. Chris Mantles had that grant done and submitted on Friday. So
Thank you, Chris.
big to Chris Mantles for that. The second grant is another health payroll reimbursement grant, including benefits. That grant was embedded in a number of emails. Chief Cleveland from Eggleston is in constant contact with Chris and with myself. And he reminded Chris, as you know, I'm out of town, he reminded Chris that there's another grant. That deadline was the 17th, and Chris Mantles and Peter, with Peter's help, submitted that grant on time. So another major achievement. We don't know what will happen with these grants, but we're going to at least try, and thank God for Chris and for Peter to get those grants submitted. So thank you for that.
Welcome.
Next, I guess that's it for my chief comments. Jane, sorry.
Hey, just a sideline for the 8 fatalities this month. 2 of those fatalities happened a block from my daughter's house. And she said that she was somewhat surprised at the circumstances because the fire department had been through her neighborhood probably 6 months before that fire and installed smoke detectors in all the houses. And this particular house was fully involved by the time the fire department got there, and it was 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning. And a great grandmother and her 5-year-old grandson died in that fire. So, you know, try as you might to keep people safe, it doesn't always work. So
You're right. All we could do is minimize the threat, mitigate it. But sometimes things line up right where no matter what you do, circumstances are, we can't stop it. You're absolutely right.
even if we give smoke detectors away. So, thank you, Chief. Moving on, where are we? We talked about the grants.
There's
New business.
We're in a new business.
Okay.
Should be funding approval request, I believe, madam.
All right.
Let me find
On to
them here.
new
There.
business. We need a funding approval request for 2171 replacement.
Jane, if it's okay, I'll take this one. I'm going to ask Chris to take the extrication tool. So we have a very strong capital improvement plan. So we don't end up going to the board saying, well, we need a $600,000 engine. We need to replace a first responder vehicle, so on and so forth. So we stagger the vehicles out 5 to 7 years is typical. And it is time per the capital improvement plan and to be prudent to replace the vehicle I drive. One of the problems we discover with the vehicle that I drive is if I have more than one person with me, I'm overweight. When I came on the department, we had engines that were overweight. That's a very sensitive issue with me. I do not run vehicles overweight, and I certainly don't want to be running mine overweight. So my request is that the board consider approval of replacement of my Expedition. I'll be going to a 1-ton Dodge pickup truck with a Cummins diesel. There'll be a cap in the back. We have one of these already. We're very happy with it. And I believe this will be the future of our vehicle replacement. The vehicle in itself is around the $52,000 range. By the time we kit it out, that's where it drives up the prices, which is normal. This board decided years ago to stop buying used vehicles and to stop driving vehicles that were 15 to 18 years old. So this maintains the spirit and the request of the board. And that's what I have to present at this time.
Chief, do you sell yours then? Will the department sell yours?
Well, that's up to the board. In this situation, we recommend against selling the truck. We recommend maintaining that truck for a reserve vehicle, for training, for out of the area, back-to-back calls. Our calls are down now, and typically we're doing a lot more overlapping calls. So in this situation, we think we might want to keep it for another year, 2 years, but it's at the discretion of the board. Our recommendation is retain the vehicle. You own
Okay.
it, you maintain it. If it becomes problematic, or if we run into a hardship, then we'll dump it.
Okay,
I'd like to make the motion to authorize fire district staff to purchase a 2021 Ram 3500 pickup truck, including topper, slide out door, lighting, lettering, associated equipment, with a not to exceed amount of $75,000.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I say we don't have to include in the motion keeping the current truck as backup, correct, or do we?
I wouldn't think so.
It's not an expense per se, it's just kind of,
Right.
What about replacing taking the chief's vehicle and replacing the duty crew vehicle and let that one be the backup?
The duty crew vehicle is a mirror to this one, and it's actually newer, Scott. It's a 2017
Okay.
Ford Expedition. It's a good question, but it's newer, and we like the vehicles. My vehicle's heavier loaded because of the equipment that I have on there, and you can run 4 people in 72, but you can't in mine.
Okay.
But it's 2 years newer, Scott.
All right. Okay. That's just a question.
Oh, good question.
Good, yeah.
Is there any other discussion? Okay, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. Fox,
yes,
Pullen,
Yes,
Phelps,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes,
and Verplink.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now for the funding approval request for a Genesis eForce extrication tools. Chris, you want to speak to that?
Absolutely. So as the board knows, the original set of these tools that we put on engine 2112, a combination of between 2 to 4 years ago, that we bought one tool at a time through that phase, quite a bit of it. The one tool was funded through a AAA grant. The other tool was funded through community fundraising efforts and cost recovery, and we paid for the third tool that time. That whole entire set has served us well on engine 2112, and we can extricate patients quite a lot quicker. I know Aaron Wilkinson made a wonderful video as part of the AAA grant media release where we used a set of hose tools on one side of a vehicle and the battery operated tools on the other side of the vehicle. And it's, I believe don't quote me on this because I don't have the video in front of me, but it was almost 5 minutes quicker to be able to get the patient extricated with the battery operated tools. And the bigger reason is the quietness of the tools that not only can responders talk to one another about what we're doing, but we can also keep the patient calm while we're extricating them from the vehicle. So what we're asking to do is we're going to replace the hose tools on engine 2111 as per the capital plan with another set of the Genesis E-Force tools. This has been in the capital plan for quite a few years since we bought the first set to be able to outfit the second engine the same way. One of the bigger reasons is we run engine 2111 to the highway more often because it carries more water. It has the up top pump panel to keep the operator off the side of the roadway. But when you also run a combination car fire accident, having that current reliable extrication tool is imperative to get people out quickly while a car's on fire. So I guess hopefully I've answered any question, or I'll be happy to answer any questions there may be, but hopefully that explains the start of it.
Well, this
So-
model, I got a question. Will this model be compatible with the older model or
Identical.
are identical?
Correct.
Okay, they
Yep.
haven't made any upgrades and,
No.
okay, great.
Is this replacing an older one? Is that what I understood you to say?
Correct, yeah. So right now we have one that has a gas engine and then corded hydraulic hoses that it takes multiple people and considerable time to set up to be able to start cutting on the car. Where with the battery operated extrication tools, one firefighter can grab a tool off the truck and begin cutting instantly. The hose tools take one person to carry the power unit, one person to carry the tools, and one of them to carry the hoses, and then plug the hydraulic hoses together, get the gas engine to start, and then begin extrication. So it's probably almost a 3 to 5 minute delay in just setup time, not including actual cut time.
Yeah, every minute counts. Okay, thank you.
Exactly. Yep.
Is there any
Well,
other-
I'll make a motion to authorize fire district staff to purchase the Genesis E-Force extrication tool set for engine number 21111, including the cutter, spreaders, ram, and associated batteries and chargers with a not to exceed amount of $33,349.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Okay, could you do a roll call vote, please, Chris?
Yes, ma'am. Pullen,
Yes,
Beckman,
Yes,
Fox,
Yes.
Phelps,
Yes.
and Verplank.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is the cost recover standard operating guideline.
Yeah, Jane?
Go ahead.
So this standard operating guideline was under the advice of legal counsel, the fire district. We had worked on some cost recovery situations, and they advised me to draft a guideline for the department. And I had to postpone it because we had a lot of expenses going out with North Shores at the time. So we did complete this and worked with the cost recovery team, which is Eric Kirchherk, John Miles, Chris Mannels, and myself. So it was vetted by the attorney and cost us, there was a fee involved in reviewing this and creating this, but it's done. And they said strongly we should have a guideline that's been created. I think if you go up, Chris, you see something we developed years ago, a point system, or a cost recovery evaluation point system. Cost recovery can be difficult, as you know. When you apply fees and when you not apply fees. So this gives us guidelines for consistency. And if I'm not there, the team knows what to do, or if one member isn't there, we can discuss it as a group And, you know, was it illegal? Was there alcohol involved? Was it preventable? Or was it just simply merely an act of God or just an accident? There's times we don't bill. So this gives us some criteria to follow. Again, really recommended by the lawyer, so we did it.
I have a
Yeah,
couple, I got a
so
couple questions.
then it's informational. Yes, Dan?
No, go ahead. You were, I didn't mean to get you in mid-sentence.
No, it was presented to the board as informational. We do not need you to adopt it or approve it. It was just a recommendation that it be done and presented to the board. And that's what I did.
My
Do you
question.
feel that, go ahead, Dan.
Okay, sorry, Drew. I don't understand the way the points are supposed to work. I see down at the bottom, it says 20 are possible. I don't know what's good, bad, or indifferent. I have, just in my own view, I have a question about, for example, illegal activity. I mean, to my way of thinking, that should almost be a hammer. I mean, if there was illegal activity going on, that should almost be a, you know, you're going to get prosecuted. End of story.
Automatic.
Yeah, automatic. There are other ones on there, repeat offense. That ought to be automatic. I mean, I think as opposed to a point system, it looks like you're kind of waiting. Plus, I can't, just the way it's some of these are worded. You know, the last one, for example, regarding false alarms was an attempt made to the responsible party to, you know, to wave you guys off. And it says 1 point. Does that mean if there was an attempt, they get 1 point, or if there wasn't an attempt, does it drop one? It's unclear. I don't know. Like I say, to me, the way this should work is, I mean, I'm fine with points, but it should be some sort of, there should be some sort of bar that says, you know, 0 to 5 or 0 to 6 points, you know, discuss it and review it, or 0 to 8, I don't care. But that something like over X number, 5, 8, 9, I don't care, it's automatic. And that being the case, I would go back and kick up those that really ought to be automatic.
Well, it's a good thought, Dan, and I can revisit this. Some of these I'm looking at and I can see what you mean. It almost should be a yes or no. Was it illegal activity? No or yes, okay? False alarms go way back in the ordinance for probably 30 years. And I don't agree with it, but you can have 4 false alarms in 1 month. My problem I have is if Eric Beckman has a false alarm at his house, which can happen to me, anybody. Eric, did you try to call us off? Because I have people leaving work. I have people, the first due out the door is me. The second engine, the engine running is going priority 1. There's an element of risking lives. So one of the things that is sensitive to me is, did you make any attempt to call us off? You get to the house and, oh, I just burned the bacon. And they close
You
the door.
mean, you mean like the grilled cheese that one time, Greg, that I did call you off?
And boy, I had this sheet out, Eric, I'm telling you. And
That was the cousins that did that, and I did call you.
For the purposes of the sheet, though, if that's the case, on number 14, it should actually show -1 point. Because if you answer that and say, yes, there was an attempt made by a responsible party, that shouldn't get you a point. That should cause you to, you want to go in the right direction with that. That's
right.
That's why I don't know. To me, the whole 20 points possible is confusing as hell, because it's almost like, do I have to get to 20 points before it's a cost recovery? And I don't think at all that's the answer. So again, to
Well,
me,
I'm
it's,
glad you brought this up because, you know, we did this probably 4 years ago when we had nothing. And we were getting attacked by one of the cities for cost recovery. And we're just doing what we're told to do. So I think what we should do is, let me take this back and meet with the cost recovery team and see about eliminating these points or coming up with something better. It's time to look at this again. I couldn't do it with everything else I had going on. You'll see further on down the agenda, things that have consumed a lot of our time where incidents did not. So how about if I go back and revisit this point system and maybe redo the point system to a yes, no?
And I was going to say, if we get to a thing where there are, and I can't read through them all at one time, but if there are 4 or 5 of these that are automatic,
Yeah.
automatic cost recovery.
Yeah.
I think that's something that then we can take back to the jurisdictions and say, FYI, here's the deal. There are some of these that have shades of gray. There are some of them that have no shade of gray. If you're engaged in illegal activity, the fire department has to respond to that. You're going to get cost hit. If you're, if it's a repeat offense, you're going to get hit for cost. Whatever, I don't know.
Hey, Greg.
Yeah, go on.
Greg, as a township resident and representative, this is a good start. I agree with Dan. There's some things on here that, as far as I'm concerned, 1 point should get you billed. But going from where we were and the previous administration claiming that the fire department was overreaching on all the cost recovery, and to where we are now, we're going in the right direction. And I appreciate you guys putting the effort in with this. And this is a damn good start. But I agree with Dan. It is a little confusing. Some of the stuff was out, there's 20 points possible, but like, Dan's looking at this. What's the scale we're going with? What number do you need to get billed? Is it a 2 or 3 or 4, whatever? So I agree with Dan. It's a bit confusing, but we're on the right track. So thank you for your hard work. And I say we keep on working this and, come up with a plan.
And I think the goal really should be to be reasonable, but aggressive. We should be reasonable. We shouldn't be hitting somebody, whose barn catches on fire because, whatever. But where there are cases where the resource is being misused or used, called on when illegal or what have you, those we need to let people know those are automatic. That's not going to be reviewed.
We will revisit this. I appreciate the comments, and you guys are right. We'll revisit this. I wanted to share with you, this is the type of thing we go through. Let me give you an incident. You have to bear with me for a minute. So I mentioned a boating accident. So we rescued 2 people. We treat them on the boat. Their boat was salvaged by the sheriff. We treated them. There was alcohol involved, quite a bit of alcohol, the level. I billed them. She wants to appeal it. So I have been working with her. She missed the deadline, so she's going to get billed again. But that's the type of thing where sometimes you shake your head. It's like digging in the ground and not getting a misdig. That to me, that's predictable. You're going to get paid. I don't think the taxpayer should fund that, and I don't think the taxpayer should fund us going out when you've been drinking and you run into a seawall with a boat at full throttle. I don't think we should pay for that. But yet I got called every name in the book on it.
Who
So
did she appeal?
favorite thing.
Did she appeal it to you?
Yeah, she first goes to me.
Okay.
There
And then-
again, with the guidelines that call the automatics as automatics, that gives you evidence or gives you ammunition to turn around and say, look, under page 4, item 3,
Yeah.
alcohol abuse or whatever involved, that's an automatic.
Yeah, I would think so.
No room for
Well, I have
argument.
the level, the PBT, I have the alcohol level, and I have the fact that, the driver spent a couple of days in jail. So to me, that validates, I am
Yeah.
in rights to bill this, that the taxpayer shouldn't pay for this.
I think that maybe job one on this is to list out as best you can those things that are automatics. And there may be 8 of them. I don't know. I have no idea. But before you get okay, and then there are going to be shades involved in the remainder, and then you set that up however it makes sense.
I feel that the number one thing in all this is being consistent across the board. So if we do it for one person, we do it for another. Now, that doesn't mean an out-of-state resident gets different than a local taxpayer per se. But I think we need consistency in this.
Yeah.
And we don't want to put Greg in the middle or the authority having jurisdiction. Someday Greg retires, maybe. The next guy, we don't want him to be making judgment calls because it's his buddy. So we need consistency.
Well, quite possibly, this shouldn't be a point system. This should just be yes or no questions. And then you base your decision on these yes or no questions. And some of them are way more heavily than others. But I think this is just a real good way to come up with, should this person be charged cost recovery or not? I guess I don't see any reason to have a point system, just a yes or no system. It was over an hour, it was illegal activity, there was a citation issued. All those things should weigh into the decision as to whether to bill or not. But I don't see where the points are important.
We can do
No,
that.
but-
We can do this.
We even had one last week, actually, while Chief was on vacation, where I was easily able to circle 7 of these. And so I was pretty comfortable in making the decision after circling half of them to go ahead and bill this person for cost recovery, based on several factors. But I would agree, it would have been a little easier if it was just yes or no's, that we can easily tweak this.
Yeah.
So
think it's-
we've got automatics in here. We've got automatics. It's billable. It's non-negotiable from our perspective, billable. Then we have the ones that, well, let's see. We could wait either
Yeah.
way. But I assure you, we will revise this and bring it back to you next month.
I was going to say, in terms of the automatic ones, those really should be fire board enacted, because that gives you the ability to say, that's the rules. Those are the board enacted or board endorsed rules for
These are the
cost recovery
non-negotiable.
automatics. Appeal to the board. Don't talk to me.
Yeah, some of these are non-negotiable. Others are like,
Iffy.
if an alarm gets called in and you call off people, then I think you probably shouldn't be charged for that. Especially some of the hotels and inns where, you really don't have a lot of control about what's going on in your.
Yeah, we don't. You're right. We don't do that on them. Large occupancies. But it is hard to be consistent on this, and we strive for that. That's a real sensitive area with the cost recovery team. And I think your input with this has just made it even better. So
Well, I
we
think
will,
this should be like a worksheet, and then
Mhm.
you bring up the reasons to the top, and or the reasons not to bill are also in here. So I guess that's where the problem comes with the point system is, I would read number 14 as, if they called it in, then you don't get a point for that.
Mhm.
But I can see where it would be difficult to interpret. So I would make it a yes or no situation.
And I think the worksheet's a good idea. For every incident, have a worksheet and then go from there, fill it out of the original list onto the worksheet.
And if they involve a lot of money, probably there should be some documentation with this worksheet.
Yeah, good idea.
Will do.
Okay, any other discussion? Beat that up pretty good. Okay, moving on. Adoption of the fire district personnel manual. Now, I'm sure you've all read this
Oh, yeah,
and taken notes.
yeah.
And
I almost printed it. Ooh,
Oh, God.
thank God I noticed how many pages there were.
You'd still be doing it.
If anyone did want a copy, let me know. I opted to not print 500 pages apiece,
Thank you.
unless you really actually do want it. So, but we'll happily do that here at our copier if you do want a written copy or a hard copy.
so,
Okay, I have one
Tell me
question. Is there
that-
anything new in it this year as opposed to last year? Not that I would know, but
Jane,
different.
can I respond to that, Jane?
sure, go ahead.
So this handbook is a whole new breed. I worked on the handbook revision in 2005. The chief prior to me, Brian, had worked on in addition. So this one is a lot more current and a lot more in depth. We spent, probably about 5 months sending it back and forth between the attorney and the attorney's attorney, Grant Pecor. We spent about $6,600 on this handbook, and it's taken over 3 years. One of the advantages of coming in agreement with North Shores is we could get this done. So I think, I remember Eric Beckman asking about this years ago, and it was always on our docket to do it, but we always put it off to the side. So there's some changes in this. For example, some of the significant changes would be the new shifts. There's different hours where overtime kicks in. Rather than 40 hours, it's 53 hours there because they're shift people. So it follows more current law and current standards. It's more relevant. You know, the days where you had to work here 3 years before you got a week off, forget that. You're never going to hire anybody that way. That was
No.
changed. So, but it pretty much was taken off of another jurisdiction's. They spent about $10,000 on a handbook and gave me a copy of it. I did editing on that, sent it to the attorney, then we volleyed back and forth for years on it. So the results of our efforts, and there was a team on this, Chris Bernardi, Eric Kircher, Chris Mannels, and myself. A lot of
So-
effort into this.
So I have a couple of questions, Greg. How do you disperse this? Do you just send them a digital copy of this? Do they sign for it? Do they? I think we need to have some way of knowing that a person has a copy of it. I don't see where we need to give them a hardbound copy.
No,
My next question, is there any hardbound copies?
there will be a hardbound copy in the radio room. They will have to sign off of it as required by the handbook.
Okay, I'm sure we have to give it to them, so we will give that to them digitally, is that?
Yeah. We'll give them a thumb drive.
Oh, okay. Okay, good.
And they will sign off on it. We'll give them a certain amount of time because we also have SOPs, SOGs that they've got to look at as well. But the handbook, everyone per the handbook policy has to receive a copy. It does not have to be a hard copy. There will be a hard copy in the radio room. They will receive a digital copy.
Okay, good, good.
Okay, how many hard copies are there?
Well, I'll have one up in my office. There'll be one in the fire clerk's office, and there will be one in the radio room.
Okay, so 3 hard copies.
Yes.
Okay, just checking. Okay, so moving on. We don't need to approve this or anything, do we, Greg?
We know what
Yeah,
we can do is we can bring it up next month and see if, you know, I don't want the board to have to spend their precious time looking at this, they're welcome to. It's going to be a fluid document. Things are going to change as per the handbook. So I guess what I'll do is I'll bring it up next month and see how people feel about it if they had a chance to look at it.
Okay.
I
All right.
fully-
Greg, with any changes, you're gonna have to get signatures from everyone again
Yep.
regarding the changes.
Right.
So, okay, good.
I can send them an amendment, and then I have to corral everybody to get that signed off on, so.
I get them every month. It seems like that we made a change and I have to sign it. So, my employee.
But I had a great team on this, and it was very hard to get to this, with what was going on over those years with some of the projects. So I'm really happy to present this to the board, and big credit to my team.
Thank you, Greg. I'm sure it's fascinating reading and we'll all get to it.
Yeah, right.
So moving on, the adoption of the Fire District Lexipol SOP SOG manual.
Any comment on that?
Probably additional interesting reading.
Yes, yeah.
Great bedtime stuff.
Well, the SOP SOG policy revision was a labor of love. We have a service called Lexipol. A number of fire departments use Lexipol. It is a number of attorneys that draft policies. They're firefighting attorneys, they're police attorneys, and they enter the law, Michigan law, into the policies. So it's a great service. Also comes with a price, about $2,500 a year. Well, you have to take those policies, some of them, and tailor them. Some of them are by statute. Some of them you can tailor for your department. And that was the goal of the team in revising these and tailoring them for Saugatuck Fire. We had to go through the whole gamut of SOP and SOGs. And finally, we completed it, and I'm happy to show it. The way this will be presented, for example, there's a response order of trucks, minimum staffing. On a training session where there's an applicable section or sections, we'll actually go over that in the lesson plan. We'll go over chapter 301, emergency response. So we'll tie the lesson plan, the training in with the SOP, SOG. That's really the ultimate way and the goal I wanted to create. Brian, the previous chief, had some great policies he introduced. We incorporated some of those into our policy. Chief Block had some great policies, as well as Lexipol. So we did it, and we're very happy to present it. Again, there might be some changes. Guidelines versus policies are two different things. And I think we covered everything on this conceivable in public safety is within this document.
How many pages is this document?
150-ish.
Okay. Okay.
May I add to that, Chief?
Yes,
So the advantage to Lexipol as well too is part of the service you pay for is actually an online tracking system. So each employee has their own login to this. And then as part of those trainings, they go in and are, we can issue 100 policies a week, which we don't intend to, or we can issue 1 or 2 a week. They have to go on, read it, and then they're actually acknowledging it, and the software tracks it and lets us know when they completed it, who completed it, and who we need to chase down to make sure they have done it. Is that a fair assessment, Chief, of how it works?
that's spot on, Chris. That's perfect.
Good. Save you some time.
Yes.
Automatically tracks it. The thing that I'm always plagued with is I can't ask these paid-on-call people to be doing this on their own time. And then I don't want to end up where I'm taking up training lessons just on this. So it's a blend. We'll find a way to blend it where we could spend a couple of sessions a year saturating these SOPs, SOGs. So it'll take a while to get everyone up to speed on them, but at least we have the foundation. We have policies.
I know what SOP is. What's SOG?
Guideline, true. It's a
Oh.
guide. It's more
Standard
flexible.
operating guidelines?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, if we don't have any questions about that, we have no correspondence. If there's any public comments, Griffin, it looks like you're the only one that's on from the public. Do you have anything?
No, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay, moving on. Fire board comments. I'll call on you for comments. Eric, I see you first.
Just, have you updated the long-term capital plan lately? And if you
No.
have,
We have not been able to get to that because we have some changes on it, Eric.
Fine.
And why we haven't put it online. We've got to shift some things around based on need. But this stuff kind of took over. So that's next on the agenda.
no problem.
Okay, moving on, True.
Well, next month, if it's a Zoom meeting, I'll be here. If it's not, I won't be because I'm having knee surgery on the 13th of August. So I don't think in 5 days I'm going to be ready to climb those stairs.
Well, we'll
So-
be here because they've extended the Zoom meeting.
Oh, they have?
Yeah,
Oh, good. Okay,
It's-
well, I'll see you next month then.
it's extended for the duration of the state of the emergency and 28 days after that, so it's still a
Okay.
fluid date.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on to Scott.
No, I'm good. I don't have a thing.
How about Dan?
Same here. Thank you.
Okay,
I
and,
got one other thing, Jane. Sorry.
oh, go ahead.
Greg, do we send something to Stacy by,
Right out of my.
from the board? I'm sorry, Jane, from the board.
Okay, I
Yes,
think probably we should do something, maybe drop off some money at the fire station.
I think we should pull money. We cannot expense out this sort of thing. That drives me
Right.
nuts about the IRS. It has to be privately funded. So if we want to take a collection, it would be certainly expected and appropriate for us to have some sort of recognition for Keith. And
So-
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
happy to handle that.
definitely. So
So,
some decide, just let us know.
Should we come up with a,
so I was thinking possibly, if we want to do something for Stacy, I like the idea of planting a tree in her yard or some kind of flowering plant that lasts instead of just sending flowers.
That's nice because
I don't know
when
how-
my mother died, we did that. And I have this huge pine tree in my yard now.
mhm.
So,
Great idea. I've done that for my father as well. So I like that idea, Jane. She might have something where Keith wants it donated to the Humane Society or something.
true.
So I guess what we could do is if people want to drop off money, put it in an envelope, get it to me, I'll put it in a safe, and then I'll find out what Stacy's wishes are for Keith and go from there.
Are we just gonna arbitrarily drop off amount or set an amount?
No, just whatever you want to give.
Okay, okay.
So Greg, should we bring those up to you on Beaver Island or do you want us to drop them at the station?
By the time we get here, I'll be back.
I'll be up there by boat.
We'll put them up in the fireboat. Yeah, drive up there. You're gonna drive up there, Scott.
I'll
We'll
be,
take
I'll
our boat. We can get up there in about 6 hours.
be at the Shamrock with Chuck.
Okay.
Depending on how much you give, he might stay a couple more weeks.
That's
So-
right. Might be enough to pay for fuel.
He's holding out for more, huh? I get it.
I think you can fly up here in a private jet cheaper than you can drive your boat up here, Scott, so.
I'm sure.
Scott, you always need someplace to go, so,
I'm ready.
yeah, me too. Okay, if there's nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll support.
We have a motion by Phelps and a second by Beckman. Could I have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. Phelps,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Pullen,
Yes.
Fox, and Verplank.
Yes.